Hi, this is Danae, and today's video is all about how to make it as a freelance musician. Being a freelance musician is a big dream for many people, and it comes with so many advantages. You have all the freedom in the world. You can work whenever you want. There's no set timetable. You can usually work on whatever you want. You choose your own repertoire, the pieces that you want to play, the people you want to collaborate with, and you can also work from wherever you want. You can travel, you can decide which city, which country you want to live in. So the freedom is really huge and also very appealing to many people. But of course, it also comes with a whole set of responsibilities. And first and foremost, that is to actually make sure that you earn enough money to pay your bills and to survive. Because as a freelance musician, you don't get a monthly salary. So you always have to make sure that there are enough gigs and enough jobs coming your way. So in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about some tips on what to think about, what to avoid as a freelance musician, what can help you along the way. Subjects like conductors, managers, agencies, chamber music, and also how to start this whole networking thing from zero. So if you're interested in that, then keep watching. So before I even get started on the whole business side of things, I wanted to say that the most important thing as a freelance musician really is that you feel passionate about what you're doing. This kind of job really requires a lot of love, a lot of passion, so you really need to be convinced by what you do, because what you do, your music, is your product, and that's what you're selling in the end. So if you're not convinced by your product, and if you don't love it completely, then the audience is also not going to be convinced by it, let alone a promoter or a conductor or an agent. So you really need to make sure that you're doing what you love, you're playing the pieces that you love, and you're really enjoying this. And that's the reason why you're doing all of this. This entire video is based on the perspective of a freelance pianist. So I just want to say right away that the whole aspect of orchestra and auditioning to get a position in an orchestra is something that I don't know at all, because I've never done it and I never will, because as a pianist you don't really do that. That is, of course, a huge subject for basically any other instrument, and very interesting, but just something that I cannot really talk about. So I will here just focus on freelancing as a pianist without a stable position. Of course, you also, as a pianist, you could get a teaching position, you could get a position at a school, for example, being the pianist of a violin class or a cello class or some wind instrument class. So there are stable positions that you can also get as a pianist, of course. But this advice is more directed towards freelancing pianists without stable positions and stable salaries. So when it comes to increasing that musical network, I would recommend to try to think of people that you already know at this moment that can be of any help. And this can really be anybody. And now you might say, well, I don't know anybody, but that probably isn't true. We all know at least one or two people that can help us, starting with, for example, your teacher. Your teacher definitely has musical contacts, and if you are really looking at making a career in music as a freelancer, you can definitely approach your teacher and tell them, could you please recommend me to this or this person? Maybe he can organize a little gig for you. Maybe he or she has even more contacts and can recommend you to another promoter, to other musicians to collaborate with. There are many ways that your teacher can help you, but that, for example, is a first person that can help you. Other people that can help you are other musicians, maybe people that you studied with. It's always nice if musicians recommend each other to people that they know, and that way your network can also increase. Then there are composers. Composers are a big factor in your musical network. Maybe you want to play a piece of a composer friend of yours, and that way you also get into his network. And then, of course, there are also people that are not musicians themselves, but that just simply love music and support arts, and they usually know many important people as well. So you can try to get in touch with someone like that. And always remember, when you get in touch with one person, the door opens for maybe 3 to 4 other people, and so on. So with just a few steps, your network is already going to really increase a lot. Now let's pretend that you really don't have anybody that you can ask, not even your teacher, for whichever reason. Then I would say take matters into your own hands. Try to organize an own event. It doesn't need to be anything huge. It can just be a little concert at your school, at your university, for example, and then invite people to that event. Try to make it as professional as possible. Think about people in your area, promoters, other musicians, maybe even conductors, maybe even agencies, and invite all of them to that concert so they can hear you and so that they can have an idea of you. Because no one is going to be interested in you until they hear you. So you really have to make sure that you get your product, which is your music, out into the world to be seen. So everybody will want to hear you before they even invite you. Don't expect to get invitations without people having ever listened to you actually play. It can also happen if someone very powerful recommends you, but that usually isn't the case. On the subject of taking matters into your own hands, there are many things that you can do. Not only organize little events to which you invite people to increase your network, but also, for example, create a homepage for yourself. Create good photos, create good videos, because nowadays it really is easier than ever to actually create your own PR. And if you're still at the very, very beginning and people don't know about you, you need to have some material that you can give them. And you can create a video of you playing. You don't need any fancy equipment for that. You can record it and put it online, or if you don't feel comfortable putting it online, then send it to people directly. Take good photos of you so that you have professional photos. Have a homepage, because people today, when they hear your name, the first thing they'll do is they will Google you. And if they find nothing, you're already going to be off their radar. So make sure that when they do Google you, they find something, and what they find is good material that you feel comfortable being online and being out there. So this is something that really is completely in your own control and that you can take care of. Create a homepage, put good videos on it, put nice photos on it, put your biography on it, maybe your repertoire, and that way you can make sure that when people search your name and look for you, they find good stuff that really stands for what you do and stands for your product. Now, let's say that you've already made that first step and your network has increased by a little bit. There are a couple of people that know you, a couple of promoters that have invited you. A very important thing, maybe even the most important thing in my opinion, to keep in mind as a freelance musician is that you see everybody at least twice. The music world is a small world. Everybody talks to each other, everybody knows each other, so make sure that when you are in contact with somebody, you always leave a good impression. Also, the gig doesn't start and end with your performance. It starts with the very first email or phone call or any exchange that you have with that promoter, and it ends with the final exchange, maybe dinner after the concert or anything like that. Being a freelancer really also means being easy and pleasant to work with, because unless you're some kind of huge superstar where everyone excuses your behavior even if it's awful, people usually want people that are pleasant to work with. And if you play well and on top of that make a good impression and people remember, wow, it was such a nice experience working with that person, they're much more likely to invite you again than if you play well but everything else was just awkward and wasn't really pleasant. They will definitely say, there are so many musicians out there, that's not the problem. We'll invite somebody else who's more fun and who's just more enjoyable to work with. So make sure that you're always pleasant to work with, that you're professional, be there on time, that you have all your stuff, all your material with you, that you're nice, that you're polite, that you're grateful, all of that, because that definitely is important in leaving your general impression with that person that invited you. Also, be fast at communicating. Promoters definitely like people that are fast. So if you get an email, don't reply to it next week. Try to reply to it within the next 24 or 48 hours. Be quick, be professional, because you should keep in mind that sometimes they will write to 3 people at the same time. And maybe if you're the quickest one to respond, you might be the one that's going to get it. So definitely be fast, be professional, be on top of all of these things. So keep in mind, your art, your music is very important. Of course, it is the main thing about you. But in the end, you are selling your whole persona, your whole character. So there is more that goes into a promoter re-inviting you than just your playing. Another thing is, once you have played a couple of concerts, to be on people's radar. So you can send little updates, maybe with nice concerts, with nice press reviews, with new repertoire, stuff like that, to people that you have already worked with. Now, don't annoy them. Don't send them an update every day or every other day or every single week. But, you know, maybe send them an update once every 2 months or once a month, depending on how your relationship is with them, just so you stay on their radar and they have in mind, oh yeah, that person is still there, that person seems to be doing well, or oh yeah, that person is playing that repertoire right now. And you never know, maybe sometimes they'll be programming something and they'll see, oh, that actually fits perfectly, and they'll invite you just because you stayed on their radar. A little further down the road, another interesting thing are replacements. Replacement gigs, of course, are nothing that you can plan, but if you are hoping to get a replacement gig, it is also very good to be on people's radar, because when they get the cancellation from the other musician, they're going to be stressed, they're going to be thinking, okay, who can I invite? And it is definitely good to be on the top of that pile of people, whether that is an email or a pile of CDs or whatever they have in front of them, and they see your face or they see your name and they say, oh yeah, actually maybe I could just invite this person as a replacement. Another big topic are agencies and managers. It definitely is very helpful as a young musician to have a manager that helps you and that recommends you to people and that gets you concerts. There is no perfect way or no proven way how to get into an agency. There are so many different ways, and in the end, the only thing that you can do, again, is make sure that the agency or the potential manager knows about you, comes to your concert, knows your name. And one tip that I would give you is that recommendations from within are always the most powerful, in my opinion. So if you know a musician that is already in the agency, then maybe ask that musician to recommend you to his manager, because a manager will always listen to the opinion of his own musicians that he's already managing in a much more focused way than to an opinion of some random person. So if you can get a musician from within the agency to recommend you, I think that should definitely help a lot. So another big thing are conductors. Conductors can be of big help to a freelancing musician's life, especially as a pianist, because more or less the main thing that you do with orchestra is play with them as a soloist, and that happens usually through the conductor. So the big question is, how do you get to the conductor? Of course, you audition for them, but getting an audition with a conductor is not something that you can really apply for. So again, there it is good to get recommendations from within. Do you know anybody within the conductor's network? Maybe someone that is managing him, maybe actually a friend of yours plays in his orchestra, stuff like that. Try to find a way that you can get to the conductor and then maybe have that person recommend you so that you can audition for him. In addition to having people recommend you, of course it is also very helpful and important to approach people yourself. So visit concerts, visit symphonic concerts, and talk to the people afterwards. Go backstage, introduce yourself, say, I'm so-and-so and I loved your concert. Usually no audition or anything like that will take place after the concert, but at least he or she knows about you. They've seen your face, they've heard your name, maybe you've even given them something like a CD, and you are somehow on their radar. And then next time you can introduce yourself again, and then maybe the time after that you can organize an audition, for example. So don't be shy, try to approach people, introduce yourself, because don't forget, you don't have a boss, you are your own boss. So you really have to make sure to sell yourself to other people. That sounded strange. Sell yourself sounded a bit strange. To sell your product to other people. And if you haven't produced a CD with a label yet, then just give them a CD that you recorded yourself, or get their email address, send them an audio file via email, just something where they can listen to you, or a video. and just something where they can get an impression of you. Many people might say, yeah, well, it's not going to help anyway if I just go there and introduce myself. There are so many people there. And of course, it's true, there are so many people there. And of course, there is a chance that he or she, whoever that is, if it's a conductor, a manager, another musician, is just simply going to forget about you. But the truth is, if you do nothing, they will definitely not know about you. So your best chance is to do something. And the worst case scenario is that they will just forget about you, and it is as if you had done nothing. So definitely don't miss the chance. Go there, introduce yourself, and the best thing that can happen is that they actually remember your name and something develops out of that in the future. When it comes to negotiating fees, which of course also is quite essential since you want to survive from just freelancing, I would say it's important that you know your worth. So try to have a minimum fee in your head that you won't go below. And that of course is totally depending on where you're at. If you're just starting out giving concerts, of course free concerts might also be part of that. But if you're further along down the road, then have a minimum fee. And when you're negotiating the fee, of course, don't start with a minimum fee, but give them a little bit higher than what your usual fee is, maybe the best fee that you have received. Give them that as a starting point, and then try to find the middle, or maybe they'll even accept it, you never know. And then try to not go below a minimum, because it definitely is good if you have a certain standard, a certain level within the industry. Of course, you have to be realistic. So don't say, I'm not going below 10,000 I'm not going below 10,000 euros, because that would be kind of ridiculous unless you're at the very, very top. But know your worth and don't go below your personal minimum, because it is important for people to know which level you're at, and also that maybe you are further along than this fee that they were going to offer you. It also elevates you in their eyes, because they see you're confident and you know what you're worth, and you're confident in your product and in your art. Another big networking opportunity is chamber music. Even if you're looking to be a solo pianist, chamber music is not only incredibly fun, and I also find incredibly important musically because it helps you as a soloist, but it also is great for your network, because other musicians have their own musical networks, and by collaborating with them, you tap into their networks as well. I myself have had so many advantages from playing chamber music, not just musically, but also career-wise. So I would definitely recommend play a lot of chamber music. In my opinion, it actually only has pros and advantages that can help you. And as a final tip, I want to mention something that someone actually told me once. He told me, when getting a concert invitation or a concert offer, to always consider 3 factors. First factor is the concert fun? Do you actually want to do it? Is the repertoire interesting to you? Are you collaborating with incredible musicians? So is it high quality music making? Is it just musically on a high level and something that is appealing to you? So that's the first factor. The second factor is career. Is it interesting for your career? Is it maybe in an important hall? Is it with an important musician? Is it in an important festival? So is it interesting for your career? And then the third factor is the fee. Is it paid well? Does it have good money? And then that agent told me, if 2 out of 3 of these factors are good, then accept it. If less than 2 are good, if only 1 or none is good, then don't accept it. And I actually think that's pretty good advice. So if it is fun, and if the music making is high quality, and it is good for your career because maybe it's with important musicians that can help you further down along the road, but the fee is not good, I would still do it. And also, if it is high quality music making and the fee is also quite good, but yeah, it doesn't make a difference to your career, I would still do it, because anything in connection with high quality music making is great. And actually the only situation where I would consider still doing it if just one factor is there is if it's high quality music making. So if there's no fee or not a good fee and it's not interesting for my career, but the music making is high quality, I might still do it, because in the end, that's why I am a musician. It is to make good music and to make beautiful music together with great other people. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you liked it, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.